Hello, Dr. Castleberry here to respond to student weekly readings discussion questions for COM 2143, Digital Media Literacy. I say respond. These are digital responses. It's also what I call an asynchronous dialogue. And what's up with that? It's asynchronous, meaning, hey, this dialogue's taking place different days, different times. You can pick this thread up later. Like someone can be watching at midnight, another person at 6 a.m. And it's online, so we're activating a mechanism that creates potential for continuity to later time, right? That even extends beyond the parameter that we, this class, shares in our accelerated course cycle. And so ideally we're accomplishing some things through that. Tackling questions from Maria with regards to our key texts. And Maria has one more question I'm going to do from Pop Culture, Introductory Perspectives, 4th edition from Marcel Danisi. And page 265 addresses technology. Maria writes, on this page it talks about our modern mediated world as a double-edged sword. Whereas technology changes, so to pop culture and... Okay, whereas technology changes, so does pop culture. And as pop culture changes, so does society. Do you think that since we have entire generations growing up immersed in technology, this two-edged sword will only get worse? And, let me defer to Jenkins, who's not here to speak for himself. Jenkins is notorious for taking optimistic stances with regards to media. I think he appreciates and enjoys it. I think he's always been a researcher that's enjoyed his subject matter, right? He's on that, when we talk about qualitative research and qualitative researchers, there is that level of anytime you do something that's akin to whether it's case studies or ethnography, right? Field research, right? So if you're mixing it up with your subject, there's like what we call a participant observer spectrum, right? Where you have to at some point ask yourself, how far on the spectrum am I going to be with regard to my research subject area? Am I going to be more of an observant? That's kind of like where we think about objectivity in journalism, or am I kind of in this enclave? Am I a part of this group? And so and the reason it's important to think about that and raise these questions is that allows us to understand what is the level of personal bias that I have with regards to this, and does this bias in any way impair my thesis, impair my quest to kind of present information that is aiming toward accuracy and honesty, and not simply just personal interpretation, but some larger little t truth, right, as we say. And so, double-edged sword. If the sword's sharp on both sides and everything in between, we use media a lot, right? And let's broaden it out to the philosophies that we call the learning objectives of this course. This course is not designed to provide simple yes/no reactions to things. Rather, we want to introduce these concepts to further orient ourselves, right? When I talk about orientation or orienting others, we want to the increasing depths of technology. We want to understand what we're looking at when we're using these things. And that's not one thing, right? It's many things. Everyone, not just students in a course, needs and will benefit from enhanced digital media literacy. And I would extend continued training in critical media literacy, as some scholars, right, would word it. And critical media literacy is about being able to question and ask questions, and also be able to locate answers and responses to your own questions about media, right? What it is, what it represents, what it's doing, and how that, and what role we play in that. I'm going to tackle a question or two from Gabrielle. All right, so excited here. Spreadable media question on deck in the video. The video interview. I hope you all got a chance to check this out with Green, Ford, and Jenkins, the authors. We were able to embed a video interview they had at some convention, some kind of junket. The authors communicate that users of media are basically producers at this point because of the way and the speed that we share content. Should there be a price to pay for our extra help? This is similar to a question asked right at the beginning. So a nice kind of, we're bringing it back around. And that's the trick though, isn't it? If you are the business and you want to create, and you want to grow, but you have limitations. All businesses do, even the biggest ones. You increasingly need and will ultimately rely upon free labor. All right. And you cannot afford to have everyone willing to peddle your message on the payroll. And so a couple of immediate practical examples came to mind, just like Google. As lucrative as Google is, one of the most lucrative companies in, not only in the country, like globally, as lucrative as they are, they cannot afford to pay every single person that uploads a video to YouTube, right? They have thresholds, and the thresholds keep going up. Like it has to be more to order, for those people that now qualify or have for years to sort of receive a monetary compensation. And they just raised that bar again in 2020. Let's take a second example here. In contrast, as a reverse gesture, Google cannot afford to charge users to use Gmail or Facebook because of the mass exodus that these free platforms, and I would use that air quotes, free platforms that would happen as a result. And this is a bind, right? This is a double bind. They have such omnipresence on culture that we can't walk away from them, right? Think about all the parents uploading pictures of their, families and children and their loved ones, sacred memories, into their digital accounts. And to, just to deactivate it because people that argue on like local news channels postings is to sacrifice, to give away what is decreasingly physical photographs, right? It's pics. That's something they can't walk away from. On the other side, a giant corporation couldn't face, on a PR front, they couldn't face the public backlash if they suddenly said, all right, everybody, Facebook is now, I'm sure it would start this way and then change, right? It's now like $15 a month. That's a lot of money to have to buy in. Well, guess what? They could get filthy rich. They already are. Charging $15 a month because millions of people would absolutely throw down and like they got to do that. They have to. They're like locked into a consumer relationship. But a ton of people would leave, and what's the price to pay? So not what's the monetary price to pay, what's the cultural price to pay? And then the truth would be that dominant global foothold that a Google would have via Facebook, via Snapchat. Facebook was the example I used. Via YouTube. That dominant foothold would get fragmented. And a corporation with that much social influence can't take that step. They have to find alternative paths. And they have, right? Which is why they're worth so much. They got around it. Which platform do you think has more spreadability when it comes to advertising, social media? Which platform do you think has more spreadability when it comes to advertising? Social media or television? All right. Certainly television had a dominant role at one point, but let's look at this question. Let's ask this question in one simple way, and I'll expand it too. watch social media on television? Is there a social media channel on your cable package? And if so, what channel or channels is that? And then on the other hand, can you watch television on social media? And maybe most of us are watching television through streaming, but wow, do we see a lot of clips on social media as well. But let's think about advertising. How are we, this is ultimately individual, right? Individualized question. I mean, this would be everyone might have, depending on your age, you're probably receiving ads differently and through different, mechanisms. So a certain demographic is probably still getting a lot of traditional television advertising. And then the majority of cord cutters are obviously getting their ads in other ways. So, but I definitely see us on the other side of large-scale adoption of social media and getting a ton of our, and it keeps growing because I'm getting, we know this, the way the algorithms are producing connections. I don't have to Google search or use a search function in a website anymore to locate items that I'm interested in that might have local significance for me. I can have an oral conversation, a vocal exchange with someone about a restaurant, about maybe something I can buy online or what have you, maybe a vacation, and those ads come to me. Why? Because my smartphone is, stealing my ideas and selling them. My desires are being data mined for the ultimate corporate this and that. All right, let's see here. Let me eat that real quick. We are almost at the end, folks. I'm just going to tackle one, maybe two more questions. We're going to wrap it up for our week 3 session. Let's look at a little bit from Gracie. Gracie writes, reacting to Denise's chapter 11, Online Popular Culture, what are paradigm shifts in social systems and what leads to it? Page 267. I picked this one out. I just thought it was an interesting and important thing to talk about. I think this is one of these really rich terms, right? You can almost think of it like a grad school term to conceptualize. And for us in our media purposes, it's important to be able to recognize, right? Identify. And that would be paradigm shifts. And you can find different uses of this term, paradigm shift, for different conversations that have taken place, whether it's paradigm shifts in media, that would be more like our focus, or paradigm shifts in, narrative or politics or what have you, maybe religious thought. And you're going to get different discussions going. But a paradigm shift is it's like an epoch, like it is this sense of when a major happening occurs and the conversation or the approach to that topic or what have you, like it alters, and it forever alters, right? And there may still be the traditional way that went, but the knowledge of that adjustment, of that that trajectory is forever going to mark, right, the history of the occurrence, the phenomenon. And so you think about something like, the internet is a paradigm shift. It offered this new mass medium that changed the way all the other mass mediums functioned. And eventually they become convergent within that mass medium. So it was like the kind of mass medium evolution that eventually could absorb these other mediums, right? So you can watch, just like we've said, this is a callback to earlier in the session, you can take in films, TV, radio, all these previous mass media, print, whether it's a tablet or just websites. I mean, all of the previous mediums of mass communication converge in the internet. And then you think about social media and the way it further it creates a convergence culture. It actually now provides this template from which we can, a paradigm shift where we can dynamically spark viral moments and create spreadability, but in both produced and organic ways. But it's also narrowed at the same time, if that makes sense. So those are a couple of digital paradigm shifts that comes to mind. Writing well in the 21st century question: what skill is important, especially in the digital age? All right, professional development time. I'll close with this. Session. It's been a great session here. All basic forms of media competency, all right, are increasingly expected prior to coming into a professional position. Increasingly expected prior to coming into a position or starting a position, as opposed to maybe the previous thought that people had for years was, well, that's going to be part of the job training, right? I've got some basic knowledge and qualifications, and then you'll provide me with the training when I start. Increasingly, job providers, various organizations ranging across the board want to see your media competency. And what we can expect is that part of that it's unspoken, it's invisible, you're not going to see it in a contract, is that we're practicing, that we have a healthy understanding of media ethics, and we're able to practice digital media literacy as a result, which will enhance our employability, enhance the level of trust, and the responsibilities we can offer for an organization. And so thus we see, there is great value to digital media literacy. And I would also take advantage of that to suggest we have a kind of, sister course that's written with similar goals in mind. And it's not overlap in a way that's redundant. It's completely separate, but we have an introduction to computer mediated communication that is helping to equip us with basic skills and knowledge and functionality for how we can approach being not simply content creators or idea generators, but also sound advocates, leaders, and trustworthy employees. This has been a fantastic session. You all write terrific questions, and they're so fun to engage. Wish the course would last longer. I wish there was more time to get into more questions, but we do what we can, and we continue on. That's the Mackey way, isn't it? We're excited to see our upcoming projects and be able to celebrate, right, this learning journey, and wish us well as we move toward those future goals. Thank you all for your sustained engagement. Those of you making it all the way to the finish, that's exciting. It's coming up, and good luck. Thank you for listening.